everybody, welcome back to the show. I am so excited to have this next guest. My guest tonight is a phenomenal actor, and not just that, he's a producer, he's a writer, a motivational speaker, a podcaster, but most importantly, he is a U.S. Army veteran, having served multiple combat tours with the 75th Ranger Regiment. He reached the rank of Sergeant First Class before moving on to work with the Arizona Department of Corrections and eventually the U.S. Border Patrol. This guy's history is incredible. I cannot wait to have this conversation. I know you guys have been excited for it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's dive into it head first. Everyone, please give a huge welcome to actor/veteran Vincent Rocco Vargas, everybody.
Hey, let me correct something real quick because
please.
People go like, man, how do you do all that? So active duty 4 years. I left as an E5, went into the reserve, became a drill sergeant. At the same time, then I became a prison guard, but it wasn't Department of Corrections. I think someone put that on my Wikipedia and it kind of blew up. But it was actually a private prison called CCA, California Corrections Corporation of America. And then I applied for the Border Patrol. At the same time, two timelines going, military, drill sergeant, and then I went psychological operations and blah, blah, blah. Eventually I retired in 2020 as a Sergeant First Class. It was time to walk away. Life was getting busy. I couldn't promote the way I wanted. I wanted to be a sergeant major, dude. That was like my dream. But yeah, so that's kind of the timeline. It gets a little convoluted and crazy throughout the years of like Wikipedia and other people writing my history.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for the clarification. I want to do you justice, sir. I want to make sure you represented the correct way.
I get nervous, right? Because someone will be like, yo, he wasn't Department of Corrections. Like, no, I never said that. I said corrections, and people took it as that.
Gotcha.
So, how it is.
So I mean, right off the bat, this is the same question I always ask everybody, right? What's your military connection? Very few, in 3 years, I don't think I've ever had one that actually served. So let's, real quick, high level, you gave us a taste, but like, what's your military connection? There you go.
Yeah, I joined the military in 2003 with the 11 X-ray contract with a Ranger, identifier if I passed. And so I went from infantry to airborne to RIP at the time, which is now called Ranger Assessment Selection Program. And then I went to 2nd Ranger Battalion. I did 3 tours there, had a great time. And then I decided to get out and go the reserve route. I wanted to try something different. There's a lot more to that story. We ain't trying to get emotional today. Sure. But yeah, then I went into the reserves as a drill sergeant, and for the rest of my career, I stayed in the reserves. I got activated as a drill sergeant at some point, and I was a drill sergeant at Fort Sill, doing my thing, had that brown round and popping people in the face with it. No, it wasn't legal then. But then, I continued my career. I went into psychological operations for a little bit. I was an NCO there for a minute, got promoted right back into the drill sergeant unit, and eventually, as my career in the civilian world kind of got busy, my efforts in the reserves, slowed down. And so I wasn't able to promote the way I wanted. I wasn't the soldier that I would like myself to be. And so I went ahead and got medically retired.
Hey, God bless. I mean, thank you for your service, obviously, first and foremost. Just because I key on drill sergeant, because I know a couple guys I know a couple guys that served, they went the drill sergeant route, and there's always some really fun, fascinating, crazy stories. I mean, you got to have at least one story to share with us. Your drill sergeant time?
Oh, I have tons of them, dude. This is like, it's probably the most rewarding time of my life, honestly. I loved mentoring these young kids and helping them prepare themselves for combat or potential combat. But there's these, things like the drug test, right? When people had to do the urinalysis test, the UAs, I had this kid named Drody, and he was always this really he was an interesting character kid, right? Kind of from like the South, a very strong accent. And as he's trying to pee in the cup, he's struggling because I'm staring at his pecker, because this is what we do, right? And I'm like, let's go, Drody. Hey, private, let's go. If you don't piss now, I'm gonna make you do push-ups so you gotta piss, right? One of those things. And he goes, but drill sergeant, I gotta poop a little. And so I was like, oh shit, man. So then we gotta go over to the toilet where this dude's sitting down, takes his shit, pisses in his cup, and I'm like, man, I hate when they do that crap to me. But with his little voice, man, we all couldn't stop laughing, man, because his voice was so particular, man. And there's a lot of beautiful incidents there. I just loved being a part of that world, dude. And there's some funny stuff. There's some emotional stuff. I almost got in trouble. Almost lost my hat and badge once. Yeah. That's a serious violation when you do that. And I made everyone in the room write their death letter. And I was so pissed at them because I felt like they weren't taking the training serious.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this, everybody get in here, form it up, right? And I already told my other drill sergeants, like, get 6 or 7 songs of just like soldiers coming home, like Dixie Chicks, soldiers coming home, letters from home, all these sad songs. And I said, get them ready. And I said, go get an envelope, 2 pieces of paper right now. And I said, fix all your wrongs and say sorry to whoever the fuck you need to say sorry to. Say goodbye to anyone you need to say. Fix it all now. This is a reality check, motherfuckers. You might not be coming back, right? And bro, there wasn't a dry eye in the room crying. And bro, so one person complained about it eventually. And, you know, I had to have the conversation with old Top, and he understood my intention of it. And to be honest, I think there was more value out of it. There was people, I held everyone's letter. I kept them for graduation. I gave them to them, right? And one of the girls said that she sent it to her father, who she hadn't talked to in 12 years. And it started the relationship back over again. She goes, it was a moment where I was able, it worked, right? The intention worked, but I was so frustrated because they didn't realize the potential of them leaving basic training, go to AIT, and then right away, potentially getting deployed to combat. And so when I'm teaching things like BRM and they're taking it like complete freaking knuckleheads, I was like, no, hell no, let's make a reality check out of this. And I got in trouble for that.
Yeah, I can understand. I appreciate that. I really do. Just because, so again, this is not about me, but I joined in 2003 as well. January 15, 2003, 11 X-ray, same deal, airborne. And I remember, you know, obviously we joined because of 9/11, right? Anyone post that, there's only one reason from 2001 to like 2008. There was only one reason, one answer. Why'd you join? 9/11. Always, same answer. And so I remember being in basic we might have been in basic around the same fucking time.
October 2003.
I was January. So I beat you by a little bit. But you know, I remember in basic, you know, the drill sergeants just repeating over and over. And like, this is serious. Like, you're the first class, because that, you know, the invasion was in March. It was in February and March. So like, they're like, this isn't a game anymore. This isn't like, you know, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna play soldier. Like, no, this is, your ass is going to war. You are going to fight, and you are probably going to die. Like, and I just remember sitting there and being like, holy shit. Like, I mean, I knew I signed up. I knew what I signed up for, but I just remember when the drill sergeants got serious about it, I was like, holy shit, this is real.
Dude. So it's crazy. So I was a drill sergeant. I got activated in 2011, I believe it was. No, 2010. And I did from 2010 to 2011, right? And I'm a reserve drill sergeant, so I show up and they already hate us because they're like, fuck, I'm a reservist, right? And then we do a PT test, and we are reservists full time, right? The difference between us and active duty is this is what we do. We actually volunteered for it, right? So we show up with active duty who hates us because they call us reservists, right? But they hate being there because they got forced to do it, right? They were DA selected, like, here's your relaxed time from combat of 15 months, come be a drill sergeant. So that sucks already. So they're already disgruntled. But then we show them, we're like, look, all I'm trying to do is take time for you. I'm trying to help you out. So take, you know, kick rocks, go hang out with the family. Let me take this next month off, right? And so we ended up doing a year, and it was a beautiful time. But man, it was an eye-opener because the first class I did was actually a class called WTC, Warrior Transition Center. And it was actually people that were coming off of active duty at some point, wanting to get back into the service. It was a mini basic training. So I did that for 2 classes. And in that class, we ended up losing a dude within 3 months of him graduating, going to his unit, and got killed in IED. And that for me was like, oh fuck, I know what we're doing here. We're actually we're training these men and women to survive. We're giving them everything we fucking got, right? And some people weren't so adamant about that, but I come from a combat unit, so I know what that feels like. And so my intentions changed dramatically because I was there like everyone else, like, dude, party hard, play hard, you know what I mean? And then when you saw that happen, you're like, hold up, man, like we're actually doing something here that can save someone's life. And so I completely changed the way I saw it, and man, I started giving everybody everything I got.
That's as it should be, as it absolutely should be. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. So this is a pop culture show. As you can tell by my background, super nerd.
I need to get you some Mayan stuff, bro.
Lions? Oh, okay.
No, Mayans.
Oh, Mayan. I was gonna say lions. What? Okay, but now hell yeah, man. Fuck, this is Mayan. I'll put some Mayan shit back there. You crazy? So I want to ask you, as an entertainer, as a professional, what do you geek out about? What are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about good writing and great acting. I have this thing that me and my wife laugh about. If someone writes something and they put like an emotion into words that I've never heard before, I'm fucking pissed that I didn't think of it first. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, that's so good. The way they made that, the way they said that, whatever. Like when a writer creates some dialogue that just rips me apart, I'm pissed off that he was able to attain that emotion from me and I couldn't do it myself, right? And so I'm very envious and very jealous of someone who can put words together in a way that I've never thought of and make me have an emotion. It fucks me up, dude. I get pissed. And so I'm very passionate about writing, but I'm passionate also about actors who can take the dialogue and run with it into a place where it again, I'm emotionally invested. I love emotional dramas, like really hard things to watch. I just love that because I love to see people take themselves there. And as an actor, I know how hard it is. And I'm always curious about what they're channeling, right? So what we have as actors is a process. Everyone has their own process of how they do these things. And so I'm always curious about what their process is and actually what they're channeling, because it's heartbreaking in a sense to watch them break themselves on camera. You know what I mean? And 90% of the times, they're not really crying about whatever they're conveying in the message. They're crying about something else. Yeah, something deep, dude. And, I think I have that gift as well. So I'm very envious that they get the opportunity to do that. And I find I'm so fascinated by it.
Do you think, and I want to say this with no ill intent whatsoever, but do you think like broken people make the best actors? Like people who have suffered, people that can go to that dark place?
Yeah, I do in a sense. And you know what I think, man, and I'm gonna say this. I think that people that haven't experienced create their own drama. You know what I mean? I think people that haven't had that already go and create their own version of that to try and reach it. And so I think that's why you have these self-destructive characteristics in particular, like actors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know.
The method actors.
Some of those guys go deep, dude. And that's something I don't plan on trying.
Good. We want to keep it all together right in there. So something I love to ask people, because this is the get to know you portion of the interview, right? So I love to ask people like, what charities do you support? What foundations are you a part of? Now I know you in particular, because I've done my research. Talk to me about Veteran, because I'm blown away by it. I want to know more.
Yeah, man. So Veteran's interesting. I've been in some t-shirt companies. I've owned t-shirt companies. They've been very successful financially and everything. But they always kind of left me feeling like I wasn't bringing value in a way that I would like to. The whole Article 15 era was a fun era for me. It was actually something I needed at that time. But I also grew way past that kind of comedy and that kind of the dick fart joke humor.
The juvenile stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And it was just, at one point I needed it. At one point I loved it. And now I'm kind of like, my kids are going to watch these videos and be like, dude, what's up with And so I knew that if I felt that way, I felt like the community would probably be growing with me for the most part. And I wanted to make a company and establish something that is positive. Right. And so the term veteran, it accidentally slipped out of my mouth one day. And I was like, ooh, that's actually kind of catchy. And that means everything that I represent, right? Everything that I'm trying to push to the world is becoming a better veteran. Right. And because I think that the positive, it also stems from like the whole focus on suicide, right? Everyone focuses on suicide. Everyone focuses on suicide. And during psychology classes and doing all these studies, I realized like, man, we're doing it wrong. And we're highlighting the most negative aspect of a veteran, right? I say this all the time. And so I wanted to create something of a positive place. And what Veteran started is just the idea and kind of a cultural shift of a movement. Like, let's promote better veterans. Let's be better. Let's just be better people, right? And as I started thinking like, well, how can I help, like really from from the ground up to do that. Well, maybe if I create an infrastructure that helps bring people in and do that. So we're slowly trying to get to the point where we can build our first veteran transition center, and it would be a place where people can show up and be like, all right, I'm ready. And it's like, cool, we can help you with this, right? And so it's gonna be a long time before that actually happens. But Veteran is there, the organization exists. It is a for-profit, but supports by also nonprofit behind it. The nonprofit is called Tomorrow Battalion, and it's me doing everything. So I have my mother-in-law now doing all the paperwork and everything, and it's official, but we still have to get all the documentation organized. And but like we're doing the money from Veteran, 50% of it goes straight to the nonprofit, and the other 50% just goes to build the company. So no one's taken from it, right? Like I'm not making money off of it, but it exists to push a positive message for the community, and even further past that, right? Like going back to the whole suicide thing, I just got really frustrated of 20 years of seeing the same thing. A lot of people saying they're trying to help, but no real change was happening, right? Superficial things were changing, and so. I've dug even deeper into myself and kind of understanding how we can really mitigate these things. And it really starts with shifting mindsets in our community. And so, that's where this whole movement comes from for me.
Yeah, and I do. We're gonna touch on that because I think it's important.
Oh, we can get deep on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, this is a very like lighthearted, fun. Let's talk about movies and TV and things. But also, I'm as a veteran. As someone who was wounded in combat, as someone who suffered from PTSD, as someone who's dealt with social anxiety and nightmares and anger issues, all these things, I'm very passionate, obviously, about that topic. Again, this isn't about me, but I serve as a mentor and I run a support group for veterans. And one of the things we always talk about is like, how do we support each other to be the best version of ourselves we can be? That's it. Yeah. Like we're not here to take on the world and conquer this, but like let's be the best version of ourselves that we can be. If we can do that, if we can all do that, the world changes. You know what I mean? Anyway, I get all passionate about it.
No, you're absolutely right. But we need more people like that, right? Because we don't want to exist in the culture in the doom and gloom era, right? It's kind of what we have, and we need to shift out of that.
Absolutely. So on that note, I read you wrote this amazing like blog article post about veteran representation in film. I did. It's so good. As a person who is passionate about movies and passionate about TV, but also very passionate about my military and my experience and my trauma, you talk about things how like spotlighting on PTSD issues with PTSD and things that it's great that they're giving it a moment to shine, that people can get involved and understand, but the tail end of that, it's becoming the narrative. It's becoming the only story, and that you worry too that it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that you're telling people that's your only way out.
Yeah, and not. It has become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The whole thing has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you look at veterans as a whole, the majority of veterans are actually pretty successful. They find a way, right? There's a minority who have the serious struggles that movies represent, right? They have the serious struggle that these television shows highlight, and which has now become the minority to the civilian population who just really doesn't know too well about that world because they're not the veterans. They see that as the majority. Right, so they view all of us as broken. They're like, oh man, do you have the PSD? I don't know how to say it, And I love them for their heart, but it is film and television who's kind of helped cause that issue, right? Has helped create this almost a systemic issue of people thinking of us that way, right? And that's why when I wrote that blog, I was like, there's two parts. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. What I have to do is change it, and I have to change it with myself. So I can't sit here and be like, hey, producers, write better stories for veterans. Like, no. I better become a producer and do it myself. That's why I'm here, right? Because I get tired of the thought process of people complaining, but not doing anything about it, right? In the military, where they say, if you come up with a problem, you better have an answer, right? So that's how I see it. I wrote that blog in the sense where like, hey, producers, writers, if you guys have questions about veterans, hit me up. Let me help you kind of orchestrate the direction of a veteran story that's not overdone and overused, right? Because people have the idea of like, oh, we're just going to bring awareness to this. I'm like, everyone's fucking aware. Everyone knows, right? This isn't a secret anymore, right? You know, and so it's like, and if you don't know, like nothing's really changed. So nothing's working. So maybe we should try and shift that narrative a little bit, right? And so I actually, when I do public speaking now, I talk about messaging and how valuable our messaging is, and how sometimes our own people are fucking that up too, right? Sometimes our own veterans are so hooked onto this, they're so passionate about the suicide prevention that they're still promoting the negative, right? And you're like, wait, think about your messaging and what we're giving to people. We should be talking about, so here's how I see suicide. So we'll talk on this whole thing if you don't mind.
Please. Oh,
I'm gonna go all the way.
Go all the way.
So
all the way.
we talk about, I usually don't like to even say the word suicide because I don't want to give that the motherfucking energy, right? I usually call it terminal crisis, right? Because what I believe it is people have crisis in life that lead to terminal crisis, right? And so what are those areas of potential crisis? That's what I work on with my mentorship group and people. So I mentor dudes myself, right? And what I work on is stopping or mitigating those crises, right? And those crises are easy money. Everyone has financial issues, dude. That feels like you're suffocating, dude. And we could have money issues from, like you say, the disability or work, or whatever the heck it is. That's one. That's a crisis. Relationship crisis. A lot of us don't know how to have healthy relationships. Never been in a healthy relationship, and what you think is healthy actually is not healthy, right? That can cause crisis. Alcohol, drugs, crisis, all the way. Excuse me for my indigestion. But like, so these areas, and then fitness, I think people need to add fitness. So if you can mitigate the potential areas that lead to crisis, to terminal crisis, right? Well, then you're now teaching people how to have a better wellness lifestyle, which would most likely prevent them ever getting to that point, right? But we're too busy focusing on like the end state. Like, well, it's like saying, hey, if you eat too many bananas, it'll cause cancer. You're like, okay, well, we'll start treating the cancer. Like, no, just stop fucking eating bananas. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, yo, if drinking is killing our veterans, stop promoting drinking. I own a whiskey company. I don't promote it. I really don't care what happens with it anymore because I'm sober and I know that alcohol has been killing our veterans, right? I was part of Drinking Bros. I still am. I'm part of it. But I also know the kind of nuance of what it created. We created a drinking culture accidentally. What we were, our intentions were to create a space where if a veteran was drinking alone, we can stop suicide by having a friend with them.
Community, yeah.
Right. So the community and the intention was pure. But the I guess the tertiary effects of that, we're creating a drinking culture. And drinking is what kills a lot of our brothers and sisters. And so like I've seen this happen. I feel bad that you know, I'm part of this whole thing, but at the same time, like that's why I'm so adamant now, like let's speak the truth about this. We can't focus on the outcome. We have to focus on what can potentially drive someone to that factor and mitigate those areas. So teach people how to be financial literate, teach people what healthy relationships are, teach people that alcohol in our world is just what people have told us is what you do when you go to combat and you come back and you're friends, right? It's almost like we were raised to believe that alcoholism is part of being a veteran, and bullshit, it's not. I've been sober almost 4 years, and trust me, my life is way better without it. You know, and so I'm trying to teach people that. And in the same sense, I try to teach Hollywood that we're not broken. Look at me, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I'm thriving in this space, you know, and I want to show that there's a lot of us that are, not just me. And so that's why I wrote that blog, was like, I'm tired of them continuing to push this message because the rest of the world believes it, and that doesn't help us. It actually hurts us. And if you're a veteran telling that same messaging, like, realize that that's not helping, right? It's not that it's not true. There's truth in those stories, sure, you know, but there's also truth in success stories too, right? There's also truth in multi-million-dollar companies, these businessmen, these actors, these writers, and those don't get highlighted because those don't create likes and shares.
Yeah, they don't generate controversy and
right.
and prey on people's fears and prey on people's, you know, generosity. Oh, my tender heart. Oh, poor baby, and I just want to fix him. And no, it's so true, man. You know, I have a collection of vet friends that, like, we talk about movies and we talk about things, and like, while, you know, it's great to see the lone survivor movie, like that's awesome, and to know that is there are people out there. But that is the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. You know what I mean? That are experiencing that. But then, you know, you have your cousin and your friend, your next door neighbor, like, oh, so that's what it was like for you, right? And I'm like, No, no, not. It was a lot of gate guard, a lot of checkpoints, a lot of just running around and doing shit. But yeah, no, those stories need to be told, and I always feel like the extremes are always, a Medal of Honor war hero, or crazed PTSD on the guy threatening to kill people on the news. Like there's no middle, and again, those are the far edges possible, and there's so much in between it. So much.
Oh, absolutely.
Another thing, I'm going to touch on that article one more time, because you also talk about like the sickness, the service and the sickness, and I've known so many guys who come up with these, or not come up with it, get diagnosed with these just like shit that you're like, you shouldn't have cancer in your knees, and yet from your service, your lungs are all fucked up. When it's like, but why? Like, for your age, for your gender, for your ethnicity, like it's out of character. But what's the one thing these all guys have is service in their in their background. Yes. One stat jumped out at me, and I didn't even know this, and I try to be pretty knowledgeable about the stuff, but you wrote that if you served on active duty during post 9/11 in the U.S. Air Force, you are at least 3.79 times more likely to be diagnosed with cancer than your civilian counterpart. And that fucking floored me.
Bro,
that floored me.
The numbers is crazy. We've lost over 250,000 veterans. 250,000 veterans have been diagnosed with cancer. 150,000 of them have been killed from this war time frame, right? But not all of those are combat related, right? To the Air Force, just something about the Air Force, the fuel, the ammunition, the barracks, whatever it is, right? And so they can't even pinpoint. So all this data comes from Hunter 7 Foundation. I want to mention that because they're an incredible organization that is kind of spearheading this. And if you guys are listening, go check them out and support them, because they have done all the research on this. It's from 2001 to 2021, I believe it was. It's like over, I don't know the numbers, I don't want to mess it up, but I think it was over 500,000 people have served, over 250,000 have been diagnosed with cancer, and over 150,000 have been died from cancer. Some crazy. 1 out of 7 veterans from that time frame will have been diagnosed with cancer. That's the scariest stat ever, and people are still focusing on the suicide, because that's a sad thing, right? Mm-hmm. It all hurts all of our bleeding hearts, but we're ignoring the biggest killer of all: mm-hmm. Cancer, stomach cancer, throat cancer, brain cancer, freaking pancreatic cancer.
Yep. Breast cancer, all of it. I've seen it.
My circle, my own friend, a friend of mine from basic training, Cortez, man, what a solid dude. We went to basic training. He went to 1st Ranger Battalion. I went to 2nd Ranger Battalion. We pretty much had the same career field. He got out with law enforcement. I got out with law enforcement. He found out he had cancer. 6 months later, he passed, dude. And I told my wife, I'm like, we've had almost the same exact career. I got to go get tested. So I called Hunter 7. I said, yo, here's the deal. I have stomach issues. I've had stomach issues for like 15 years, it feels like. I really need to get checked. And I did the whole thing. They put me through the whole test and everything, and my screening came back clear, thank God. And man, what a relief that felt. But terrified to hear those stats, and to think that, we're not even paying attention to that because we haven't thought of that. We're too busy focused on the other issues that we're all dealing with too. You know what I mean? So it was the biggest threat to us right now is not suicide, it's cancer.
Yeah, and it doesn't get media. It's not sexy. It's not sexy to talk about.
No,
it's not newsworthy. I'm
trying to make a documentary about it. What I want to do is make a documentary. I'm looking for some investors to help me with that, because that subject, we can't ignore that. It's dangerous.
No, absolutely. And now everything I've read about you and watched some of your videos and your speeches and things, and you talk so openly about your struggles with PTSD and alcoholism, your sleep issues, everything. If you can, and I know as a guy who's been doing this for 20 years and has been through it, I know you can't sum it all up in a nutshell, right? You can't just all pocket it because it's vast, but as best as you can, what do you attribute to kind of coming through on the other side? What was it that helped get you through to a better place?
Well, I'll tell you, it's the same thing that I kind of mentor others to do. is I've been deep diving in all the different modalities of therapy, right? And so I started off with EMDR with an incredible therapist. Her name is Tanya Glenn out of Round Rock, Texas. And she started the path. She said to me, fuck your feelings, dude. I'm here to help you with a chemical thing that happened in your brain. And that's why you're having post-traumatic stress, right? I was having these nightmares. I was having and very, very weird incident happened overseas. And that's irrelevant. But what I brought home from that was this nightmare of confusion, right? And this nightmare that I kept seeing this old lady's face, not her face, more of her emotion. And one day she's mad at me, the next day she's looking for help. Both dreams, I can't do anything, right? It's so like, and it was this, we're in Afghanistan, we're coming around the corner, we're in a Humvee, I'm coming out, same dream with different like scenarios every time. And for some reason, the emotion that I was feeling was so haunting. I was like, fuck that, I'm never sleeping again. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? It's like this feeling that was like, nope.
You just don't want to experience it.
I want that again. You know what I mean? And so that was haunting me for a minute, dude. And I didn't know who to talk to at the time, because really I was only real like combat veteran in my circles, because I just got into the Border Patrol. Even when I was in the prison system, it wasn't really having any friends that understood it. So it was really early on my like trying to like, whoa, this is not normal. Right. I had a couple little incidents of like I have like these day, I call them episodes, where like I think I'm in combat and I just kind of zone out, right? I thought I was getting sniped at one point, and just like really weird things like that. But who do you talk to about that when you're just kind of fresh out of the military and just trying to figure it out, you know? And so I wasn't telling anyone until I told a buddy, and then I was in the Border Patrol, and I almost shot a dude because I got confused whether I was in Afghanistan or I was in the border. And I was wearing the same boots I wore in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? These Merrills. I had the same kind of rifle in my hands. I had the same kind of gloves. I bought all the same gear from active duty to Border Patrol. I'm chasing a dude wearing night vision goggles, and the smell, the smell of someone in Afghanistan that's in the hills is a very pungent smell. And someone who's been hiking for 8 days in the border trying to get to America smells the same. And then if you have a little bit of burnt trash, oh, hey, way too many smells that are right on point.
Sure.
And in my head, I was like, is this a squirter, right? So the ROE in combat, a squirter you can engage. And so I was like, ROEs, this is a squirter, I can shoot him, right? But then I'm like, wait, what did this dude even do? And then I started like coming in and out of the conversation in my own head. So I got to the point like I caught up to the dude and just sat him down, and I was like, yo, that was like a really bad moment, because I could have ruined everything in my life, right? Sure. I could have gone to prison. I would have never seen my kids. So that's when I was like, I told my buddy, he was like, yo. So we ended up telling the counselor, and the counselor hit me up, and she said, they're like, fuck your feelings. And I was like, oh shit, never heard a counselor talk like that. And that started the path. We did EMDR session, and it went from having that dream to not seeing that dream ever again. I have had the moment where it's like blackness, where I know the emotion's there. Like it probably was still there, but I'm not visually seeing it. So that still was nicer. It was better. And so from that, I started researching all this wellness stuff, man. And so up till to date, I've done stem cell treatments, I've done sweat lodge, I've done breathing techniques, I've done cold water therapy, I've done everything you can think of under the sun besides ayahuasca. You know what I'm saying? And that's on the list if I can convince my wife. You know what I'm saying? Like I've had many conversations with my boy from Heroic Hearts, right? I'm like, yo, dog, I'm trying to just convince the wife. You know what I mean? But I'm not opposed to any of it. I kind of turned myself into a guinea pig of information and knowledge. I'm going to be doing brain mapping here soon. I'm going to be doing hypnosis. I'm going to be doing, there's a long list of them that I want to just try, because why not? And then I could turn around and tell others like, yo, this is what it did for me. But as of now, I'm in a pretty good place. And I realize no matter how much therapy I do, or different modalities of therapy, there still might be a residual effect of combat in there. You know what I mean? I have still woke up from, a nightmare, jump up, rip off the sheets of the house, boom, 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 and do other things, kind of like very, very, as if someone's coming to me, someone's coming to my door, and, I rip off the sheets, I get all like, and and it's people probably will not understand this. It's like an out of body of experience where I'm watching myself do it, like a daydreamer or a sleepwalker. And when I come to, I'm almost embarrassed, like what the right? Because being a man and scaring my wife with these little episodes doesn't feel so hot and makes you feel out of control. And out of control doesn't feel good. A man that in my head, I should have everything under control, and I really want to protect my family. And I get really nervous about like that I can't control that when it happens. And so it crushes me sometimes. It hurts my heart, you know what I mean? To be like, damn, I can't find an answer for that one.
No. I'm so glad you're so open and willing to talk about it. I've experienced the same things. I've had those moments where you're like, okay, that wasn't me. That was something else. That was something that just took over, and whatever you want to call it, instinct or training or something just kicked in. I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate and understand. I recall, being in the supermarket and just staring, like being in a cereal aisle and just going like, why are there fucking 8,000 cereals? Like, this is too much. Like it's overstimulating in a way of like just too much choice. When I wore the same uniform every day, I drank the same coffee every day. I had the same food every day. The same MREs. I had 5 MREs I would eat every day, and it can be overwhelming. So
dude,
your willingness to talk about it and open it, I think, will impact so many lives, so many lives, and just knowing that they're not alone, and knowing to, I'm a big proponent too of try different therapies, because you can say therapy helps, but that's very vague. So you got to go. Not every therapy will help everybody. You don't know, I know people that like, they fucking did all the therapies and talk therapies, and then they did this horse program where they were brushing horses, and then all of a sudden it clicks. I
own horses, dude.
And then that's the, I know people that did all this stuff, and then one day they took a painting class. They're not artistic, they don't paint, but all of a sudden the emotion, the it just all comes out on the canvas. I took a stand-up comedy class, and I loved the empowering of being like, I can take this traumatic, tragic thing and make a joke of it, and spin it, and sell it, and move it, and make it what I want, make the reality what I want. And that was so empowering for me. So any one of these can be the game changer for someone. And so I love hearing when you say like, I did this, I tried this, I did, because that's so important to know that if it didn't work, okay, you tried it, try something else. Like, don't give up, try something else. There's so many options.
I feel like I've taken a little from all of them. I've taken something from all of them that are very valuable. I think one of the most valuable ones is what I do as a career now, is acting. Emilio Rivera, if you guys know who he is, he's also a veteran. He's a really good friend of mine, a mentor, like a second father to me. He plays, Marcus Alvarez on the show. I asked him about acting, and he said something that when he said it, it was like, yes, you're right. He said, acting made me human again. It allowed me to show emotions. And that was so impactful. I'm like, yes, you are absolutely right. It's given me the opportunity to, if I was uncomfortable with an emotion, but to be like, well, I'm playing a character, so it's cool. You know what I mean?
It's not me, it's the character.
Yeah, and then as well as the thrill and the fear of playing something else was so exhilarating, in the sense of like, the thrill of it was just as thrilling as like the fear of the unknown of combat. It was like the fear of the unknown of like, am I gonna do good when they say action? Can I pull this off? And there was something so like exhilarating for me that I knew I found a home in this entertainment space.
And now we do got to switch gears, because I appreciate you sharing all this stuff, and it's so good. But I do want to talk about your career. I do want to talk about the process and the acting and all of that. You've been so open, and I love it. I appreciate it so much. So your first credited role is Helen Keller versus Night Wolves.
Oh my God.
And
I'm thinking Julio something.
Yeah, Julio Scagnetti. So I just for the folks at home, for those who haven't caught Helen Keller versus the Night Wolves, sell us on it. What's this amazing role you got going on?
Oh, the role consisted of us being in a cafe and just laughing our asses off. It was really kind of like It was our first introduction to film and television on the bigger scale. So what happened was I was working with Matt and JT at the time and Article 15 clothing and all that stuff. And we were already doing skit comedy, right? And so we decided we want to transition into trying to make a film. And we reached out to Ross Patterson. JT actually reached out to Ross Patterson, and we convinced him to fly out and help us rewrite this script that Billy J, he was the original writer of it, he wrote. And so we're trying to keep it within a certain budget. So he flew in. I knew nothing about the dude. I don't know nothing about this dude. And we met him. We got absolutely drunk that night and talked our heads off and had so much fun that we ended up kind of becoming friends all of a sudden with Ross Patterson. And he goes, I'm filming a movie. You guys should be in it. Come on out for one day at least. And we're like, all right, cool. So we showed up for one day. We were on set. We're just screaming and laughing the whole time. And that was it. And that was our first introduction into Hollywood. That was my first acting credit. Yeah, that's it. And it is a bizarre, crazy of the mind of Ross Patterson type of film. It is not for the faint of heart. I'd say that.
I love it. I love it so much. I'm like going through your discography and I'm just looking at it going like, huh, okay. It's an interesting place to start with.
Yeah, man. I didn't know what my intentions were with Hollywood at the time, but it was cool to kind of see behind the curtain for once.
Did you get is that where the acting bug hit you? Is that where you're like, oh, I want to do this?
No, the acting bug hit when I was younger. I was in college playing baseball and I was struggling with my grades. I was dyslexic. I never really learned how to read until after, like while the military is where I really started to kind of try and help myself on reading. But trying to find easy classes, I went to my coach was like, hey, do some acting classes. They're easy, like theater class. I'm like, all right, cool. I signed up for a theater class. The first class was an improv. And I remember one of the first days he asked, can anyone show us what it's like to come home drunk? And I was like, oh, dude, I do this all the time. Let's fucking go, And so I did that. The class like laughed and everything. And he was like, that was really good. And from that point on, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, man. And so I did another theater class. And eventually, I went to an audition, me not being able to read very well. Those anxieties showed up. They handed me the paper. I was stuttering the words. I started sweating and I just left. I was like, forget this, right? Fast forward to 2013, I start doing YouTube videos with Matt and JT for Article 15. And that is where I was like, I remember how much I liked this and I'm curious to where I can take this. But at that point, there was never a path to Hollywood. There was never a path to making a movie until we thought about making a script and then boom, boom. So that I already had the idea like, man, how could I turn this into something bigger, like to really get to Hollywood? And I had no idea. Luckily, it kind of stumbled upon me.
Yeah, it's a right place, right time. You can call it destiny. You can call it fate. You can call it, whatever you want. Tell me a little bit about Range 15, because I can only assume that that was just a lot of fun and just a lot of silliness.
Yeah, it was wild, man. It was just... So what we did, we crowdfunded at the time. We were the 4th highest crowdfund in Indiegogo history. And we raised something like 1.5 million. That's combining with some of the sponsors that jumped on board with us. The veteran community came together and supported us on believing that we can make this great movie. And we made a pretty ridiculous, I like to call it man, what do you call it? It's a cult classic. It's a military cult classic is what it turned out to be. It's very edgy. It's very military centric and as well as like dark humor. But it did what we wanted to, right? It really brought communities together. They laughed, they joked. And at that time, I feel like a lot of the veterans needed laughter. I think a lot of the guys needed something to just kind of champion behind because, it was a struggling community of after combat, what next, and to see a group of veterans be able to achieve something like this, I think it inspired a lot of people. It inspired me to see what we were able to accomplish, We made a beautiful documentary behind that called Not a War Story. And I think that tells the heart and soul of what we tried to do and what we accomplished. But that was the moment. I turned around. If you guys don't know, the original owner of Ranger Up company was Nick Palmisano. He's also one of the writers and producers of the movie with us. First day on set, I was like, I'm going to do this for a career. And he goes, I believe you. And that was it. And he told me years later when I landed in Mayans, he goes, you told me that, right? I said, dude, I believed it. And that was, I sat there thinking like I could make a living doing this. I didn't know how again, but yeah, man, it was a really beautiful time of our lives. It was just kind of like we were riding that wave of what we created through YouTube and social media, and we were able to accomplish that. And it really did open the door for me to see a new career field.
I mean, it really was ahead of its time. I mean, really, in the most ridiculous way, but in a good way. And then obviously that leads you to you eventually get the Mayans. So we got to talk about that, right? Because I mean, it's such a huge show. So many, I don't want to say everyone, but damn near everyone I know talks about that show. And when you first were auditioning for it, when you first got it, let's backtrack. Were you a fan of Sons of Anarchy? Were you aware of the material? Were you into it beforehand?
I mean, I was a border patrol agent watching Sons of Anarchy. I remember sitting in a dark room crying when Opie died. You know what I mean? And you know, a huge fan of the show. And as a fan of the show, is like I said, like I just going overseas, we watched all kinds of different shows, right? As part of my culture in special operations is watching shows. I watched Friends, I watched the OC, I watched everything. So watching shows was what I did anyway. So when I wasn't working, you know, I had my little Netflix and I was watching, I think it was on Netflix, I was watching Sons of Anarchy and fell in love with it, man. I thought it was such a good show and just so wrapped into it that Opie was like the biggest heartbreak I've ever had, you know what I mean? And, you know, I heard there was a potential for Mayans. And so that was like, oh, interesting. And still like, I don't know how, but I heard Mayans when I first shaved my head and my mustache for Range 15.
Oh, wow.
So I heard about it and I even took a picture and say, hey, Kurt Sutter, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like early on, I'm like, hey, Kurt Sutter, give me a chance, right? Like now I laugh at that shit. I'm like, oh, fuck, what a dumbass.
But tweeting that out, right? Hey, give me a job.
Give me a fucking chance here. Like, oh, jeez. But yeah, dude, I knew about the show, I knew about all of it, and I knew Mayans was coming around the corner, and I just, I didn't know if I was going to catch it in time.
Yeah, and so when you auditioned, I mean, what was that process like? Like when you're going into it, are you like, I feel like I got a high chance? Or you're like, I just want it so bad? Like, what was that whole process like?
You know, it was the first audition I really ever had besides the one I did at 18, so I didn't know what to expect. I had a buddy of mine kind of coach me through like, hey, here's how you want to handle this, like kind of the etiquette, show up, do it, shake hands, walk out. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, cool. And me and my wife drove there. I shaved my head. I freaking shaved my face to look more, you know, I wanted to look like a cholo. I dressed like kind of like a biker cholo kind of dude. And I was like, well, at least I looked the part. I just don't know if, you know, I'm going to pull off what they want. I felt very confident with my acting. I've always felt confident with my acting, but I felt like I could pull off what the words they sent me, right? The paper they sent me. And so the first character I'm playing is a tough guy. And I did that. And they said, all right, great job. They gave me a hug. The lady gave me a hug. Her name is Wendy O'Brien, incredible casting director, casting agent. She gave me a hug. She goes, oh, that was incredible. And I looked at my wife. I was like, I think she says that to everyone because she's super nice. Yeah. You know? And so we ended up flying back home because it was spring break. And I was filming Dads in Parks at the time. You know, the little YouTube show I had. I was filming Dads in Parks at the time. So we just like, oh, we're done filming Dads in Parks. Let's go back home. And so when we go back home, by the time I land, I have an email saying, hey, Kurt Sutter now wants to see the read with you. And I was like, oh shit. So I bought a ticket back to LA and now I had my dad drive me because I didn't have a car this time. And this time I have a serious character and a comedic character, right? Some comedic relief. And at the time I didn't know if I was good at drama. I just felt really confident with comedy because it's all I've done on YouTube. Right. And so, honest to God, man, I did the audition for the first one, felt good. Did the audition for the second one that was comedy, and I can swear to you, I blacked out. I don't remember if I even said the right words. All I remember coming to and everyone's laughing and myself. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. You guys have a good day, right? And I walked out of there thinking like, I think that was good. I just don't remember. I was so like stressed, dude. It was just like Will Ferrell, like that's how you debate. You know what I mean? Like, swear to you, I was like completely like, oh, everyone's laughing. Well, that's good, you know? And so we walked out. My dad was jumping on my back. My dad's been riding Harleys for a long time. And he rides with the Fire Hogs. It's like a LA firefighter MC kind of thing, or riding club, whatever they call it. And he's like jumping on my back, like, Vinny, this is so awesome, man. I can't believe that. I hope you get it, right? And my dad's not a big dude, he's small, right? So he's jumping on my back and just hugging me and like, just giving me all the love, dude. And Kurt Sutter was watching from the window. It's a 2-story place. He's watching from the window, and he's like, and he said what I was told, that he said like, man, that's beautiful. Yeah. And then boom, I got the job.
And so, I mean, obviously, like you said, you've been filming stuff, you've been doing the YouTube stuff, you've been doing content, the Range 15 and all that stuff. But I mean, I can imagine like you're coming into this professional Hollywood TV set for what is going to be put, because it's not even just like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna be a successful show, because it's a spin-off of one of the most incredibly successful shows. So it's, I don't want to say it's guaranteed a hit, but like, you know, there's already gonna be a fan base associated to it. So what does that feel like for you as the, I don't want to, no insults, the amateur in the room, the first timer? What is that emotion? What is that feeling? What is that mentality walking onto these all people that have been doing it since they were 5 years old in commercials and things like that? How's that for you?
No, great question, man. You know, I think the competitive side of me and all the sports I've ever played in, like the special operations kind of like mentality, was like, don't show that you're new, you know, fake it till you make it. And I really believed I could compete with anyone in the room. I thought, but it was really, I also, you know, likability, man. I wanted to make sure that I was being respectful to the craft. I wanted to make sure that I was respectful to the career. I wanted to make sure that my wife was prepared for whatever's going to happen, because we don't know, you know what I mean? So we had all the conversations. I genuinely just wanted to do, like, I didn't know film etiquette because I was filming shit with my friends. And so I was just really watching a lot, paying attention to everyone and kind of following suit, you know? So I was kind of just like staying in the shadows and just copying what everyone else does and acting like I've done this my whole life, you know what I mean? And, you know, at first it was cool. The first pilot went well. I kind of stayed out of everyone's way. I didn't have very many lines, and I was just like blessed to be there. I'm like, dude, if they kill me after episode 1, fuck yeah, cares, dope. I landed a huge gig, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And then they threw out the first pilot, and me and my wife were prepared that they probably weren't going to bring us back. And so we were like, okay, well, what a cool experience that was, you know? And then I get a call from Elgin and says, yeah, we're definitely bringing you back, but we changed your character. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm probably dying like within the first minute of the episode. Fine. You know what I mean? And then he goes, no, we're combining you and another character. You're going to have a little bit more significant role in the show. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, cool. You know? And so I became one of the 4 like young dudes, kind of the problem childs, you know? And I'll tell you, I really did have the confidence that I can hang with everyone until day 1 of filming the second pilot. We were in the tunnel on the border, and it's me, JD, Clay, and Richard, which is Coco, Angel, Easy, and Gilly. And they said action. And soon as they started talking, we were just bullshitting, joking, blah, blah, you know, military kind of stuff, grab ass joking, blah, 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 you know? And they said action, and boom, they turned it on. And I froze, dude. I watched them, and I sit and went like, they're saying the lines, he's saying his lines, and the whole time I'm like, oh, he's good. Oh, he's good. I'm like, oh, damn, he's good. And then it was my line, I was like, they were like, Rocco. I was like, oh, sorry, guys. Run it back, sorry. And I was like, then I'm sweating, bro, like, don't fuck this up again, don't fuck this up again, don't fuck this up again, you know? And I hit my line, but I was like, damn, I was so like, all of a sudden I'm a fan, like, oh man, these guys are really good at this. So that's when I knew, like, okay, you're a beginner and you need to figure this out fast, dude. And so, you know, I did some lessons. I studied a lot more. I watched them as much as I could. I asked questions. One of the most embarrassing days on set is they're telling me about this scene. They're like, all right, man, hey, so on the day, Rocco, on the day, you're going to be grabbing this bag and putting here. And I'm like, okay, but today's the day, correct? We're doing this today? And they're like, yes, it's just a term we use. It's called on the day. I'm like, yeah, but you're saying on the day, but today's the day. They're like,
as
yeah,
if it's a different day.
Yeah, so I'm like, why do you call it that? Like, dude, this is what they say in Hollywood. I'm like, oh, so on the day means the next time we do this. Like, yes. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. And so it's still today, dude. Season 5, we're filming, and they're like, on the day, Rocco, that's today. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got it, guys, whatever. Yeah, we know. I was new.
I mean, as a military guy, right? We're doing rehearsals for a mission, right? Okay, this is what we're gonna do. So on the day of, we're gonna blah 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 blah. I'm like, it's not gonna be today. That's gonna be when we do the thing.
Yes, dude. The term for some reason is like, hey, on the day, and I'm sitting there like, oh, so we're filming this tomorrow. So confused, man.
Man, yeah, I'd be lost. I'd be lost on a film set. As much of a fan I am, I'm the guy that like watches the movie, then watches it again, then watches it with director's commentary, then watches the bloopers and the gag reels, then watches the special making of and the featurette, and because I love as much as I love the product, I love the process. I love to like what you guys do is incredible. The artistry, the fact that one tiny scene with 2 people needed 45 people to do the lights and the mics and the craft services, and like you need the whole thing. It's magic. It really is movie magic, and I love it so much.
Remind me when we have the premiere for season 5. I would love to have you as a guest.
Yeah, you can't. I would cry. Don't do that. That's not nice. I would cry over here. Don't. Moving. We'll talk. Now I don't know what. Okay. So I've lost all my senses now. I've completely shut down. Moving on. So let me ask you this. A fun question. Let's mix it up. The fun question is, if you had the opportunity, they come to you a blank check basically and says, doesn't matter who, we want you to do a superhero. We want you to be a superhero or supervillain, right? Any character. It could be done before, never done before. What would you love as an actor to sink your teeth into and bring to a super role?
Oh my God.
I know, blank check, man, is a hard one.
I love the superhero world. Like I've always loved the Hulk, but I just don't see me playing someone like the Hulk. It's a tough one, dude. There's a comic book. It was character's name was Lobo. It was this big bad
Lobo.
Hell I don't have hair, bro, but I've always thought the character was tough.
Wigs are easy. Wigs are easy, bro.
Wigs are easy. I love the character Bane. I think he's cool. I mean, dude, just to play a superhero, because I'm a nerd in that world of love superheroes, and I raise my kids on all superhero stuff. It would be an honor to play any Marvel character. I don't think there's one I connect with more than any other. Juggernaut was dope. Like I always like the big tough guys, like guys with lots of strength. I think I've always envied that, and I think that's attractive to me, like to just be so a brute. And I've always kind of been a brute in my circle of dudes, and so I just like those. I love those. Like my son loves Spider-Man, and I'm like, bro, like
you want to talk Spider-Man, man? Come on.
Dude, bro, he's all Spider-Man'd out, right? I got all Miles Morales stuff all over our house right now, dog, because he's Puerto Rican. So I'm like, yo, we got to support this boy.
Gotta support him. Yeah. Okay,
but
fan casting. I want to fan cast you for a second, and I'll leave the viewers can vote in the comments about who they think you'd be perfect for. But just the pure vibe. I think we get you the right bodysuit, we get you the right training and everything. I think you could do badass Wolverine. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there. Just the visceral. The anger, the complicated past, this is a dude that obviously has PTSD and some fucking heads some shit, but he drinks and but he has the good heart. I think you could fucking kill that. I think, no offense to Hugh Jackman. I mean, he's good enough. He's good enough, but I think you could kill a role like that, man. Absolutely.
I would love to, man. I love the opportunity I like anything that sounds challenging. Sounds fun to me.
What is because I can only assume you've been recognized in public as your character, right? Any wild, crazy interactions? Like, what do people say to you when they recognize you in public? Like, what's the thing?
I think I don't do anything different. So I go to 24-hour fitness right down the street from where I grew up. So there's a lot of people that know who I am, and they just kind of tip the cap or say, hey, I love the show, good job. And they really do, they kind of leave me be, no one really bothers me too much. I think a lot of people are intimidated to bother me. So later on they say, I'm like, hey dude, say hi next time, no big deal. I think it was funny. I was on a flight one time, and I was sitting, comfort plus, because I ain't buying first class, right? That's crazy. And the dude next to me knew who I was, and he didn't say nothing until the end. He goes, man, it's really been an honor to sit here and just talk, because we were just talking about law enforcement stuff. I was like, oh, cool, man. And then as we're leaving, he's like, you mind if I take a picture? No, I don't. And then and he goes, dude, you're super famous. I was like, no, I'm not, bro. I'm not, I promise you. And then as I said, I'm not super famous, right? A guy comes off the plane like, holy fuck, that's Rocco. He's super famous. And I was like, that was some fucking timing, bro. It was so funny. My wife's like, that was hilarious. I'm like, yeah, the timing on that conversation was so funny, but it doesn't happen as much as like you might think. I don't know. In LA, I get noticed a lot because I think it's LA. I think, but in Utah, most people don't even know I live in Salt Lake City. And so a lot of times people are like, man, I thought I saw you. I'm like, it was me. It's me. I played on a softball tournament and some dude's like, bro, you look just like this dude on TV. He plays a character in Gilly. I'm like, no way, dude. Is he at least good looking? He's like, yeah, you guys look alike. I'm like, oh, cool. And the guy next to me's laughing like, bro, it is him. And we just started laughing. Like, I fuck with a lot of people about that, but yeah, it's not as crazy as okay. I'm not Easy Reyes, bro. I don't have the abs. Okay.
Hey man, it's not okay. We're not gonna knock anybody, but like, it's not like you're on the Freeform network, all right? With FX, huge. I mean, that's up there, man. It's up there. That's notoriety. That's a whole level of fame. That again, we're talking about the 1% of the 1%, bro, and you're in there. Fucking enjoy it.
Michael Irby, Michael Irby plays Bishop.
Yeah.
He always tells me, he goes, you're spoiled. He goes, because everything after this, he goes, it's not going to be like this. And I'm like, man, you're right. I landed like the biggest show of my life, like my first year in acting.
Honestly, right out the gate. I mean, people are actors their whole careers without ever making it past a pilot or making it to a second season or anything like that. And I mean, this will go down as one of the big shows ever, for sure. Do you ever plan, because I know like a big part of being a part of like a franchise like this, I'm thinking things like, Walking Dead, Supernatural, like these very big franchises tend to spawn like conventions. Like, do you ever do like motorcycle rallies or like, Sons of Anarchy conventions or something like that?
Yeah, so what happens is those conventions is that the company invites you and they pay you for your time. And so right now, it only seems like 5 different guys have been invited to certain ones. I imagine I'll get invited at some point. But I also imagine I'm going to turn down a lot of it too. When I'm not working, dude, I'm home, dude. And so I give my family that respect to be there and be a coach when I can be, and be a husband. And so I turn down a lot of stuff. So that's just kind of it. But, if it makes sense, and I can book a flight for my kids too, let's do it, They
got those, I've seen this all the time where they get like a whole show cast to do like a cruise. Bro, you bring the family, it's work, but it's also like a family cruise thing. I mean, I think about it sometimes with my man. If I was on the show, I would do a cruise.
I would do it. I love Comic-Con. We go to Comic-Con every year as a show. And if we do it again this year, I'm taking my kids so they can experience it.
Nice. Preference, San Diego or New York? Is there a preference?
San Diego. I'm from California, so I like the San Diego one.
I'm a New York guy, man. I mean, don't get me. San Diego, that's the mecca of Comic-Con. We know that as pop culture people. San Diego's the mecca. But I mean, come on, man. I'm from the city. I'm from New York, and I love me some New York Comic-Con. I enjoy going every year if I can. What's a couple more questions, because we've already been talking over an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. This has been such a good conversation. I'm enjoying it so much. What's it been like filming through the pandemic? Like, what was the concern there? Like, when did it start to feel normal again? I mean, take us through that.
Yeah, man. I was concerned that we might not be working for over a year, so I had to get a regular job, man. I was like nervous that we were gonna be running on empty and I'd get a job too late, so right away when I knew that we were shut down from filming, I went and got a job, and waiting for the day that we're gonna open up filming again, waiting to hear about it. And I actually scared me, because I realized, like, man, I've kind of let go of any other forms of income because I was trusting in this career field. And so I started going back to school because I wanted to work on my master's. And so that maybe I can teach theater in college. If the worst case scenario happens, I still have a revenue stream in that for the family. But when they open up filming again, you know, we test all the time. I have my COVID test right here. I got to take one today. And during the first 2 seasons coming back, it was very strict. We tested every other day. And when I traveled home, I got to test every other day there as well. And so it was just very stringent. But the fact that they were able to get us back into filming was important to me to be able to kind of, you know, maintain my lifestyle and help my family financially and continue to pursue this career of acting, right? Because I thought like maybe acting was going to be done for me as well. Because there's the fear of when the show is done, like, will I have the respect as an actor to get more jobs? You know what I mean? And that's kind of the hard part of this job. I've lived in a life of the first and the 15th paycheck, right? As a federal officer, as a military guy, and that doesn't exist anymore in my world. I get majority of my money in those 4 months of filming, and then from there I have to kind of manage that and hope that there's another show coming down the block or something else I can manifest to bring a revenue stream. And so COVID scared me a little bit, man, and actually kind of humbled me to the point of thinking like, okay, we got to be better about how we pursue this career field in safeguarding my family.
Damn, it's the things you don't think about. You know, you think about, they're on vacation. They're just, you know, they're sitting home, and it's like, no, there's some real life concerns. You know, not everybody's got that AAA status where they're like, fuck, I don't got to work for another 10 years if I don't want. Like, like my character. Remember, I'm not the lead of the show. I'm actually, you know, I think I'm number 12 on the call sheet, right? And so if you understand the call sheets, like 1, 2, 3 are probably the most, the best paid dudes on the show. Yeah. You know, I'm down at the 12 where there's a bulk of us that probably get paid probably the same. And I'm not saying the pay is not good. It's good. It's just, you know, it's not fuck you money, dog. Yeah. You know, you know what I'm saying? I tell you, it ain't that. You know what I mean? You ain't hit the lotto just yet. Right. You know,
it's pursuing this career put me in more debt than anything. Right? For the first 2 seasons, I was in debt. I lost money chasing this dream. Right? With the hopes of like I would be able to land something big. And so, you know, when I finally landed a bigger contract, bro, I was just paying back debts I've had stacking for the past couple of years. So it's an interesting career field, and you know, when the highs are highs and then the lows are lows, dude.
That leads me into my next question so perfectly. Doing something like this career field specifically, literally puts you out there. It opens you up to so much criticism, right? Fans, critics, randos on the internet, they're like, man, fuck that guy, he sucks. You know, like, how do you manage that? How do you handle that, the good and the bad?
I probably don't handle it the way I should. I'll tell you that. My PR is probably like, bro, calm down. But I'm also like, dude, I'm a real dude, bro. Find me, homie. You want to talk some shit? Let's go. You know what I mean? And that's not the best way to approach that. No, you know, last season, I think it was last season, I had a scene where I had a Ranger flag in the background, right? My character, and some old school Ranger was talking shit on a Ranger forum that I'm a part of, right? He's like, look at this fat fuck talking like he's a Ranger. There's no way. And before I was able to chime in, like all my homies who I served with were like, bam, 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 blasting this dude, right? And I messaged him. I said, what's your number, bro? And he gave me some. I called him. I said, what years did you serve? And he said the years. I said, oh, cool. So you missed the war. He goes, yeah. And I was like, did you get a Ranger tab? And this is me, like Ranger checking each other, right?
Sure.
This is a Ranger thing, right? Like, I don't care about anyone else's what they've served, but if I can talk shit to a Ranger, this is how I do it, right? And I say, what years did it serve? Did you go to combat? No. Okay, cool. Got you. All right. Did you get a Ranger tab? No. I said, cool. Then shut your fucking mouth. You know what I mean? And I went off on it, right? And then by the end of it, it was just like, he goes, well, bro, hey, no disrespect. If you ever want to come visit, man, Ranger brother. I'm like, yeah. But I was so mad, bro. I was just pretty much like, I was so mad. I'm like, bro, the fact that you felt that you had to say anything, you should be proud that a Ranger battalion was represented on film and television. That's what they should have pulled from that. But instead, it was this comment, and it was all stemmed from his own insecurities, right? He didn't really do that. He was a training dude for years, right? And he never got his Ranger tab. So he knows what I know about that. In our community, we know what that means. You know, he didn't make that, right? And so he didn't promote either. So this dude is not the higher echelons of dudes I respect in the Ranger town who've done big work, right? The giants that I look up to, he was not that. So for him to try and talk down to me, I was like, watch your mouth, bro. But I shouldn't handle things that way. But sometimes I like to go really direct with people and say, let's have a conversation, you know, because you I'm so human, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not this actor. I'm not Tom Cruise, bro. I'm so grounded in the fact, like, bro, if you don't like me, I don't know what.
It's true, but I can, this is not pretentious. This is not whatever, but I'm emailing you. I'm like, hey man, come on the show. You're like, hey, here's my number. Text me. I'm just like, who just fucking gives out their cell phone number? Like,
my wife hates it, dude. My wife hates I do that.
They start randomly just sending you gifts and like a little.
You can text me anytime, bro.
Oh, you're too funny, man. You're too funny. Okay. Trying to think what's a good one to go out on. Tell me something. What is a quality that you admire in other actors? Like, what's something that you aspire to add to your tool set?
That's a great damn question. I feel like I'm professional at work, but I know there's guys who are way more studied and prepared than I am. And I wish I had more discipline to study the way they do. But and like, so I'll just say there's several dudes, but Danny Pino, he plays Galindo. I've never seen someone so prepared for his stuff. And it's not like we all, we have our sides and we're looking at it before seeing, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm good, put it in my pocket. He has an iPad and he looks at the iPad, puts it away, and he'll know 3 lines of dialogue perfectly. And that is a challenge, dude. I've never had the blessing of having 3, or the curse of having 3 pages of dialogue, you know what I mean? And so to watch him knock out 3 pages of dialogue flawlessly is extremely impressive. And I don't know if I'm at that skill set level yet, right? So I definitely envy how, and not even that, he's a true gentleman of the craft. And so, I do feel a little insecure when I'm in a room with guys like him that, like, I don't have the experience that he has. So I definitely, I walk on eggshells and watch and observe and learn, because that dude is probably one of the most professional people I've ever worked with.
God bless. I love it. We can't beat that. That was solid. Let get real quick. Where can people follow you? Where can people show support? What do you want to plug? Where can people, see you next? Give it all to us.
Yeah, man, we got season 5 coming out. I don't know when. They're going to announce it soon, but if you guys haven't watched Mayans, go watch it on FX or Hulu. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of it. Same, Vincent Rocco Vargas. You guys can message me and I reply to everybody. I don't care. The biggest thing that I have on the table right now is I just released a book called Borderline. It is my memoir as a Border Patrol agent. I wanted to do my best to explain the career field of a Border Patrol agent, as well as the special operations careers. It's just my way of giving information to those who probably don't know the full story about what the career field is. And that's what's going on right now. So like it, share it, tell your friends, and just thank you for supporting me.
Yeah, absolutely. I will share it on the page across our social media. Make sure people know where to get it. We'll plug it, pump it, all that stuff, man, and have people check out Veteran. I want to pick up one of the shirts. I love the designs. They're so cool, and the message behind it is so inspiring. Vincent, Rocco, man. I feel like I can call you Rocco now. I feel like I've earned it.
You call me anything, bro. Anything.
Thank you so much for your time, man. This has been phenomenal. I know people are gonna love this interview, and now you're a friend of the show forever, dude. Anytime, ever you want to come back, shoot the shit. We'll talk about your career. We'll talk about because I know the next big thing is just around the corner. So we're gonna talk about that. We'll talk about the military. We'll geek out about superheroes, whatever you want, man. I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yeah, man. Don't forget, when the premiere dates happen, be ready.
I will be ready, sir. I will guarantee I'll be ready. So, all right, we're gonna toss to a quick break, and we'll be back with more show right after this. Say goodbye, Vince. All right, guys.